This is Kevin Alvey with Figgy Pop Farms and Alvey Gardens. I really like self-irrigating pots, at least for very large pots. So I'm gonna do some self-irrigating pots that are 5 gallon. I got these off Marketplace pretty cheaply, like $3 a piece, food grade, and I was able to buy like 50 of them. So I'm gonna try to do quite a few self-irrigating pots in 5 gallon form. Now I really like I've done some in 25 and I really saw really good quality growth and thick stems, thick trunks. And so I'm gonna do these 5 gallons as a little more of a test to just see if they're an improvement over regular pots, but not that large, not 25 gallon, which I think fig trees really should be in. It really helps their growth. It really helps them put on a lot of fruit. So I'm gonna try it with just some 5 gallons. But I thought, if I'm gonna do this, let me do a little video and help others understand what self-irrigating pots are. So let me show you one that I just built, and then I will show you how to build one. So let's get figgy with it. Here's one I just finished. I'm using 6-inch field tile. Now I can get this locally, just right up the street from a company that does irrigation, that does drainage. And so I went up there and just bought a 30-foot length, and I'll cut it to fit. So that's what I did with these. That's what I did with this piece. I'll just cut it down, cut it to size. Then I used a 2-inch PVC, and in order to fit perfectly in a 5 gallon bucket, I cut them to 16 inches and then put an angle. So this is a 22.5 degree angle. Not that the angle really matters, you just want an angle so that you don't clog up the bottom and not be able to add rainwater or whatever that you irrigate with. So I'm using 5 gallon bucket, 2-inch PVC, 6-inch field tile, high grade, high quality weed mat. I don't use the real thick, cheap, thin stuff. This is actually weave, and that's a little bit better. And then I've cut these to 24-inch by 24-inch squares, and that's exactly what I need to wrap the field tile. So let me show you how it's done. So I already cut a small piece of field tile to fit perfectly in the pot, and it looks like they're just under 9 inches. So that's what will fit in a true 5 gallon bucket. This is a little shallow, so you can go a little bit larger, 10 inches. 10 inches would work just fine. So what I do to cut the field tile is a sharp utility knife, and I just kind of mark out where it's going to be. Just mark it, and then start cutting. So there's your piece cut, and then I like to trim them fairly clean if they're not. That just keeps them from making a big mess. And I cut the small pieces off. So that's just the right size. The next step is to cut it for the PVC. Which of course I have a nice pair of tin snips, make it easy to do that. And I cut 3 rings across 3 rings. Just large enough to get the 2-inch pipe in. And then trim it out with the utility. There's your piece. So that's ready. And then I'm going to wrap the weed mat around it. And I'm gonna put this hole on the top. So what I wanna do is I wanna wrap the weed mat in such a way that the cut edge is underneath and the finished edge is on the top at the moment, but that will be the very bottom. And then I gather it together. And bundle it with a cable tie. And I like to snip off the excess. And I'll put it back in. Wrap and then gather again. You make sure that it's in there and in there tight. Another cable tie. You see what I'm talking about here? Pull tight. Now you've got a nice wrapped piece of candy. At least that's candy for your figs. Or whatever else you're gonna grow. It doesn't have to be figs. But this would work for you know, tomatoes or cucumbers or really anything that you want to grow. If 5 gallon buckets are large enough. So there's my area where my pipe goes. So I just do it, a little snip with utility. Back to the 5 gallon bucket. There's my hole. So I want to line up my hole on the opposite side of my fill. And it seems to be easier to put it in before you set it in. So that's what I'm gonna do. And again, my hole, you can see right there, is opposite my fill pipe. All right, shove it down in there. And the nice thing is it's nice and tight. Now, I wanna secure this in place, so I'm gonna push that in, down again. I want this to be secure, I don't want it to wiggle around, so I'm gonna push it out of the way. And then I'm gonna take a 1/4" drill bit and drill 2 holes just above the handle. And I'll use those holes right there to secure that with cable ties. See what I'm doing? So that's in there nice and tight now. But again, I want to trim it. I just don't like mess. So now that it's ready, I'm also gonna cap it so it just keeps animals and bugs and stuff from getting in there. Now, really what you should do with this is put a piece of screen or whatever over it, but if your irrigation pipe is tight enough, see how tight it is in there? Then it won't matter because it's being protected. Soil won't get in there, so that'll be okay. But it has to be tight. So that's how we build the self-irrigating pot out of a 5 gallon bucket. Now, if we want to, I can set up one here in a little bit and show you how to fill it, how to get it ready, what amendments I use, what soil I use, all those good things. So give me a moment. Now here's the self-irrigating pots ready to fill. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of weird angle here, but I really want to show you the mix and how I go about doing that. I like to use HP Promix Bx, at least for my up pots. I do a lot. It takes a lot of time to make your own mix. So I kind of use this because, one, it's convenient. I go right up the road to a local landscape nursery. I get a decent price on it, better than if I ordered it, had it palletized and shipped. I get a better price on it now. If I just go up and buy 4 or 5 bags at a time, I get a better price than if I ordered a whole pallet. So here's how I do it. I'm gonna do 6 to 7 scoops, shovel scoops, and then I will water it, moisturize it, and get it pre-moistened the same way that I pre-moisten my cuttings. I get it at the same ratio. I don't plant in it and then add the water, because I think that oversaturates the roots and has the potential to rot new up pots and new trees. 4, 5, 6, 7. That's about right. Chop up the chunks, and then I add my water. I moisten it pretty well, but mix it up. And I'm using a 25-30 gallon mineral bucket. And as you can see, even right behind me, again, I got a lot of stuff off Marketplace. So I get these off Marketplace, and it's what I use for up potting. And then the miscellaneous ones that are just kind of weird, different colors or whatever, I use them for other tasks. So you can see how that's pretty darker now. And it just barely clumps. It's just wet enough. Just wet enough. It's not super saturated moist. This is a little too moist for fig pops, but it works well for up potting, and it's not so wet that it won't rot your new up pots. Now, as far as amendments go, everybody kind of does what they have access to. Well, I make my own compost. I make my own leaf mold. I have access to rabbit poo. And I have worm castings. So those are the things I use. I don't buy a lot of chemical fertilizers. I try to do everything by natural means. So let's get to it. There's my rabbit poo. I had quite a bit. That's pretty decent. There's my compost, and I'm probably adding 2 gallons. Yeah, that's about 2 gallons. And 2 gallons of leaf mold. All right, let's fill our pot. Get it down in there so it'll wick better. Okay, remember the drainage hole's on this side. All right, now's when I add the worm castings. One fairly decent sized scoop. And I don't mix it in too much, I just kind of set it on top. Then I like to use rock dust. If I had bone meal on hand, I would use bone meal also. And then a little bit more rabbit poo, so the roots are kind of right there touching it. Now with rabbit poo, it's safe. You don't have to compost it. It won't hurt the trees. So about half a scoop. And I just work that in just a touch. That way the roots come basically right into contact with all that. If I didn't have rabbit poo, I mainly would use alfalfa meal as my nitrogen source. But I do, so so this is what I use. All right, what I've got here is this is a Tunecino from Profig. He teased me and I couldn't help but get some trees from him. I try to focus on cold hardy trees that I can plant in ground, but sometimes I just can't help myself to buy trees that have to be pot culture, just because they, you know, a lot of trees are not, a lot of fig trees are not cold hardy, and you don't get some of the best if everything you do has to be put in ground. So I went with some of these awesome ones from Profig. I've bought quite a few trees from them, or quite a few cuttings. So let's see how this root ball looks. Pretty nice. Look, it's all right there. Even got little worms in it. Yep, look, several. That's nice to see. And I'm not gonna mess with it too much because it's not like circling too bad. It'll break out of that. And I don't have a lot of room with these 5-gallon buckets. So it's a little hard to up hop from 3-gallon to 5-gallon. Put that on there for now until I get a good label on it. I'm gonna start filling it around it. I'm gonna push this way a little bit so I can get a good amount of soil down in there. All right, there it is, up potted. So now I just need to water that in. So gotta water it in a little bit. Now here at the end of the day, after I up pot all these, I'll go get some kelp and some fish emulsion, and I'll water it in again and fertilize with that. I'm not going to fill the sips yet for a couple weeks because I want to let the roots get established in this soil and to make sure that we don't waterlog the trees. With bigger pots, you wait, possibly even a little longer to make sure that you don't kill the tree just with rotting it out. Well, I hope you find that helpful, and just wanted to say thank you for watching the video. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and I will continue to try to provide valuable information on growing figs and how to work a sustainable permaculture garden. I like to use a roof stout method. Lots of leaves and kind of going that route, creating biochar, just a lot of those things were just kind of sustainable practices. So I hope that was fun, and don't forget to get figgy with it. Have a good day.